how much biodiversity will remain a century from now under different value frameworks. Why I'm presenting this? Because this is our cause. We started our work because of those reasons, which means that if you continue business as usual, we are going to lose a lot of our biodiversity. If you take care, consider biodiversity role in ecosystem is a little bit less in a century time. But if you consider the resilience and the adaptation to change of the biodiversity, of course you're going to have more protection. At the end, if you consider that intrinsic values on biodiversity, independently of the values, we should make conservation, of course we are going to have much more biodiversity protection. Another thing that we always thought is about business challenges. We know today that we should be prepared. The business has to be prepared to new reality, to be more innovative. Also, business should embrace a natural capital agenda, focusing on companies' reputation and competitive position. Security of supply can be threatened, and operating margins squeezed. Also, the business should lead the shift to a new economy, understanding the nature of value and the value of nature. Business risk is also associated with eroding natural capital. Why am I saying this? Because business are changing. And there are a lot of demands now in the market. And we are talking about this all those days. So what we could do to support business on this new scenario? So what is the life certification? When the idea has been conceived, it started in 2007, in fact, almost 2008. Some researchers from Fundação Avina, Fundação Boticário, Posigraf, SPVS, they started a discussion on the initiative based on their own responsibility and their own experience on biodiversity, losses, and preservation. So they decided to start talking about probably a certification. They made a benchmark analysis on 56 initiatives worldwide. And the results of those analyses is that only 13 initiatives was linked to biodiversity, but it was not a certification. We know that there are new management standards, and we should take account of the financial losses that result from loss of biodiversity. So there is no doubt that there has been a need to provide a tool to engage the business responsibility on this, to play a role for the biodiversity conservation. Life Institute has been created last year. We are an accrediting body. We are not going to make the auditors. We are just going to work on developing the standards, improve the methodology, and credential the organisms that we're going to do the audits. The certifying agency is going to oversee the correct application of the criteria for the certification, and the business would implement the criteria. This is very simple structure how it's going to work. But the methodology has 3 steps. First step, we are going to talk about compliance. Of course, this is minimum. Compliance with applicable laws. What kind of compliance? Environmental laws, labor laws, social security laws, and tax laws. So everything starts by here. This is the first step. This is the minimum we could require for a company. The second phase would be measure the environmental impact and also measure the management programs the company is doing. This has been created quite a lot of calculation by a number of specialists, mathematicians, some managers, some industries also related, and quite a lot of specialists in environmental management as well. What kind of measurement we are going to do? What kind of aspects we are going to see? Waste generation, water consumption, greenhouse gas emission, energy usage, and raw material usage. So when you measure those impacts, you have to think about, okay, I do all those impacts. Oh, everyone does impact, and a company, of course. But then I have to evaluate how I mitigate the impact. What's the impact severity? What's the criticality? What's the environmental and ecological production efficiency? So the impact minus the mitigation of the impact would create what we called the negative impact value. This is quite a lot of discussions already on how to measure, and we have to include a lot of people from academy, from universities, in order to discuss, and it's already finished, the discussion, we are testing right now. So you have a negative impact. What you're going to do? And this we have create a book of ideas, information, environmental priorities in Brazil. We started in Brazil. This has been created by 8 specialists in the area. And what kind of actions the company should do? It's proactive actions concerning protected areas, species, interest of conservation, fragments and connectivity, resources sustainability usage, benefits distribution, support to conservation, public policies, of course. So we measure the impact, we deduct the management of the impact, and the deficit or the negative that still stays in the company will be compensated by this kind of actions.
The one thing I don't think you've yet talked about is how does this work? I mean, who is going to use this information? Is it going to be the consumer, a company?
Yeah.
What's the dynamic there?
Yes, in fact, this certification has been created for all kinds of companies. And we are not going to certify a company, the name of the company. We're going to certify a site of that company, a place of that, like a Petrobras. If Petrobras comes to us, of course, we're not going to certify Petrobras as a whole, but this side of Petrobras, how it works, is all directed to companies. And we are testing this in companies. We are fine-tuning the regulation, and we are doing the phase 2 audits. We have done phase 1 last year. We have to review many of the aspects and control and calculation and put much more people involved on this. We created kind of commissions and technical team for that. We are going to do some workshops in São Paulo, Rio, Brasília, and Curitiba. Is public presentation of this certification. And we intend to present the life certification on the COP10. We have been having all the support from the CBD guys. We have presented already this information in details on the CBD, on the Convention of Biodiversity in Montreal. And we have a full support from them, and they really enjoyed the criteria and the usage of this. Okay? And commercially, it's going to be launched in November.